Well, ladies and gentlemen, honored guests, it's an honor to speak for you today. As already mentioned, my name is David Willems. I'm head of the Fusion Center of the National Cybersecurity Center of the Netherlands. And I've been in ICT and cybersecurity for over 20 years now. And I've seen how it developed from an information security topic to a topic that has become more political and is more present in geopolitical conflicts and in critical infrastructure than ever. And I'm also excited but also curious how this will develop over time. I've also seen the respective decrease of the typical image of techies and hackers in hoodies, which is now slowly being replaced by the increase of ties and suits, as we can see here. Cybersecurity is increasingly becoming an important topic on any management board, and I would like to address today, what I would like to address today is such a topic that needs to make its way up to the management board because it's regarded as ordinary day-to-day business. Today I would like to talk to you about incident response and the need for better operational cooperation of crisis. My key point is that we have to increase frameworks and standardized rules of cooperation in order to collaborate smoothly across borders during a serious cyber incident. And yes, there are frameworks in place, but these need to work better together. I will get to that in a second. There's a second point as well. The crisis mode is also taking our toll on our staff, and we need to look into creative ways that we can reduce that impact. And we are faced with an important dilemma. Let me take you through a situation last year to illustrate this. On an annual basis in the Netherlands, we have about 700 incidents at the Cybersecurity Center, and most of these incidents have no serious implications and can be quickly diffused, but some do have bigger impact. On the 12th of December 2021 was such an example. There was a Log4j vulnerability. Probably a lot of you know about this. The Log4j vulnerability, if unpatched, exists in the Log4j library for logging errors, events in Java-based applications, and it's a third-party logging solution to log data inside an application without having to fabricate a solution specifically for that app. Put simply, the Log4j vulnerability allows hackers to steal confidential information or take advantages of available resources. Well, what we did, we immediately identified the need of a single source of truth. This Log4j component is used in a lot of applications, but no one had a complete picture. So what we did as the MCSC, we set up a GitHub repository to create that single source of truth, which tells us in which applications this component is used. And the point I already mentioned, through normal communications channels, it would be really difficult to create this collective picture about this vulnerability. Well, the GitHub was initially meant actually to provide information for our Dutch constituencies in the critical infrastructure. However, after we informed our international partners, the repo was really pushed internationally as well, making it, well, the most complete list out of there. So a lot of collaboration started across borders and countries, and private industry was also contributing to that big picture. Besides taking quick action to create the GitHub repo, we were also quick to inform our international partners, which resulted in a bigger traction and contributions from both international partners and vendors who eventually started updating us. But setting up a repo is one, but maintaining a repo is two. So initially, we had this repo and we were running this and having our staff updating all the information, and we had 2 people staffed on these updates. But it became a big problem because it required a lot of resources to keep that database up to date. However, more importantly, due to a big community effort maintaining the page and processing, requests became doable when CERT-EU and CERT-Boons offered their help and started helping us to update that database. Without these extra human resources, processing all the pull requests would not have been doable for us as MCSC Netherlands. So we needed to allocate additional capacity through cert-to-cert collaboration. And the aim was to avoid the duplication of efforts, because if we make a repo and someone else makes a repo, it's more efficient to make one together. So we created that central page and we started collaborating on that. So various incidents in the past, among which Log4j, show us that collaboration between public and private entities is absolutely crucial. We need to investigate how and what responsibility the private sector will have in the future incidents. The contribution of private companies to the GitHub repo resulted in the list of vulnerable products being more complete, which resulted in others being able to patch the vulnerability fast. And many times during the Log4j incident, private partners have information that public entities do not have. You have different information. Working together and sharing as much threat information as possible can help to decrease and prevent an impact on national security and support centralized information flows. Something that MCSC found is extremely important during crisis. In order to decrease the workload, we, as a community, need to start approaching crisis not only as a national crisis, but primarily as an international crisis. Avoid silos, work together, and create one situational picture. The GitHub approach, we believe, was a good step in that process. Next to that, we have various frameworks, such as the CSERT network in Europe or International Watching Warning Network, but we need to deepen these networks to create and establish best practices. Think about putting one country's national CSERT in the lead of communicating with a particular software vendor, instead of all ringing the same software vendor, which creates an overload at the private industry. So within MCSC&L, in its crisis structure, we have included a role of an international advisor. We did that last year, and they monitor what happens in all of your countries, what other counterparts are seeing, what they are doing, and this way we prevent that we reinvent the wheel. And we think that we can work together more easily. So we believe this also could be a good practice for others to actually look what others are doing on a very proactive way. Sorry. As what I said is relevant for the people in the crisis, but what about the boardroom was also mentioned today. As I said, Log4j started in December, and since then, up to today, the NCSC, the Netherlands, has been in what we call escalation mode. We have been in more escalation mode for more days than we have not been in escalation mode, meaning that we have been out for 2 weeks or 14 days without an incident, and after those 2 weeks, the war in Ukraine started. So we are continuously putting a burden on our staff. And we need to cooperate and to do this more efficiently. As we all know, the impact on an escalation mode on staff is huge. Staff across amongst entire organizations are forced with additional tasks that are designed to only have a very short duration. In 2022, we have been in escalation mode more days than the normal mode. And this means extra work pressure, and this also means less options to go on holidays. So it's becoming the new normal, and we need to figure out how we're going to solve this problem. This, of course, results in firm decisions that we need to be taken by the management. Goals need to be reset or shifted, and time needs to be spent differently. It also lets us think about whether the way we are structured as an organization and if it's still future-proof. Do we need to do that in a different way? So if I get back to what I was telling, I started this speech with a key point. We have to increase frameworks and standardize rules of cooperation in order to collaborate smoothly with international partners during incidents. And the Log4j case, it was a good example how this can work. And we'll use this as a good, as a best, as a worst cases, both, for the future. The second key point I mentioned is that crisis mode is having an impact on our staff capacity. We have to rethink the way we are structured as an organization to be able to keep responding to increasing cyber incidents. I very much like to continue this discussion on how we can strengthen international crisis cooperation. We have the frameworks, as I already mentioned, but we need to work towards better crisis mechanisms. One where we don't work in silos, but one we work collectively across borders, also with private industry. in such a way that it reduces the pressure on our staff members at all organisations. I hope this could be a good start. Thank you very much.